Happy nondescript fall holiday to all. I am Professor Ozpin. I understand many in Remnant right now are experiencing a certain plague which makes it incredibly difficult to celebrate this holiday.
Right. Incredibly difficult. I gotcha.
Qrow, I told you to go mix the holiday punch.
I'm trying. I can't find any alcohol anywhere.
Glinda locked it up the last time you were here. It's in her office in the cupboard behind the shelf.
I'm on it. You want anything while I'm out?
No, Qrow, just go and make the punch.
Yeah.
As I was saying, I know things have not gotten back to normal since the last time we talked. However, tonight I'm going to read a certain story many of you might be familiar with. Some may be hearing it for the first time. It is called The Grimm Child. Hopefully this story will cheer you up. Or scare you, I really don't care how.
Go on, I double dare you,
Poppy said. She nudged her younger brother Oak towards the forest edge, but he planted his feet and refused to budge.
I don't want to go.
Oak said firmly. Poppy threw up her hands.
Holly isn't dangerous. You're just a coward.
She saw no need to worry about her parents' rules. Oak whimpered, his lips trembling. She retorted.
It's perfectly safe. Look, I'll go in first.
So she did. Poppy darted into the forest, ignoring Oak's whimpering. She didn't go far, though. She slipped behind the thick tree trunk and watched her brother cry. He huddled on the ground not 10 feet away, arms around his knees as he rocked back and forth, screaming her name. The coward wasn't even going to come after her to see if she was all right. He was utterly useless, she thought. Then suddenly, Oak stopped yelling. Poppy could still see him, but he had gone quiet. When she looked behind her, the hairs on the back of her neck rose and the shadow seemed somehow closer. She ran out of the forest, but she shoved his shaking hands into her pockets and put on a broad smile when she reached her brother.
Told you so! Not a single Grimm! Now it's your turn!
Poppy said, taunting him. Oak looked up, wet lines streaking the dirt on his face. Why was he always so dirty?
I don't want to go,
he said, pouting. But Poppy insisted.
It's only fair. I went in first. Now you have to go. If you don't, I won't be your friend anymore and play with you. You have to be my friend,
Oak said.
I have to be your sister,
Poppy said.
It isn't the same thing. I have friends, lots of other friends.
Yeah, I don't blame Oak. Raven used to pull the same trick all the time with me.
Qrow, you're supposed to be mixing the punch.
All right.
Anyway, he hated when she played with them and left him behind. So Oak pulled himself up to his feet and gave her a miserable look.
Please, don't make me,
he moaned. Poppy crossed her arms. Oak sighed and trudged toward the forest, dragging his feet and slowing down as he reached the first line of trees. He turned back once and Poppy made a shooing motion. Then he walked into the forest until the darkness swallowed him. Poppy waited for Oak to shriek and run out again. He had always had an active imagination, fueled by occasional accounts of Grimm attacks in Vale. He often woke her up at night crying over bad dreams. He wouldn't last long in the forest. Poppy listened hard for him, but the forest was so silent that it was almost unsettling. It was getting dark and cold, and her parents would be expecting them home soon. Oak had seemingly vanished. Poppy thought as she approached the forest once again. This time, crossing into the dark web of trees felt like crossing into another world. It was already night here, and the air itself seemed to be breathing all around her. Poppy's skin crawled as she went deeper and deeper into the forest. Into the gloom, she could barely make out a trail worn into the grass and dirt, or perhaps faded and overgrown with time. Would Oak have walked here? Suddenly she was unsure. She nearly tripped over him, a lump in the path. He was huddled over like before, head down, arms wrapped around his knees. Poppy nearly yelled at him, but instead she crouched and put a hand over his. It was ice cold. He was only a little boy,
I'm sorry.
she said softly.
I shouldn't have made you. Let's go home.
At the word home, Oak lifted his head. His face was as pale as Grimbone. He had to be frightened out of his mind. Poppy realized, and she felt a flash of sympathy. She took his hand, helped him up, and led them back the way they came.
I recognize this. They were doing the chill challenge.
Excuse me?
The chill challenge. It's where your older sister abandons you in the forest and leaves you there for hours on end, and you have to not panic. And unfortunately, Oak pretty much failed it.
Qrow, there was no such challenge. I think your sister was trying to get rid of you.
Oh. That explains why Ty had to come get me.
Okay, I think we found something a little more sad than this tale. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Her brother was unusually quiet. Probably either in shock or sulking, she thought. He gripped her hand tightly in his, fingers digging into her flesh like he would die if he let go, but his skin never warmed. By the time she got him inside their house, she was really worried. His eyes were glassy and sunken in his pale face, the skin around them bruised like he hadn't been sleeping. Before their parents spotted him, Poppy hurried Oak into their room and explained that he wasn't feeling well. Their mother and father were angry that they were back so late, but also relieved to see them. Poppy was thankful that they would never know that she and Oak defied their wishes.
As far as they know.
Qrow? She had a cold supper and followed Oak to bed as soon as she could. He was only a round shape under the covers now. When the mound twitched, Poppy said,
Shh. Go back to sleep.
and then more quietly she added,
I'm sorry about before. I love you.
In the middle of the night, Poppy woke in a cold sweat. Screams echoed in her head, remnants of a forgotten nightmare. She looked at Oak's bed, but his sheets were twisted in a heap on the floor. He was gone. Poppy slipped out of bed, stepped out of the room, and tiptoed softly through the house, listening for Oak. Her parents' bedroom door was open, and Poppy was relieved. Oak must have gone in there to sleep, which he often did when he woke up in the night. Poppy crept to the door and peered in. Her parents were sitting up in bed. Poppy walked in.
Mother? Father?
Her voice was dry and raspy, almost a whisper. Had she caught a chill in the forest? Her parents didn't respond, so she drew closer. Then she fell back in horror when she saw their faces. Oh, sorry, I was opening the canned pineapple. That's fine, Qrow, just be quiet next time. The mouths gaped and their lifeless eyes were wide open. Their skin had turned as pale as bone. She couldn't bring herself to touch them, but she knew they would be as cold as the Salidas tundra. Poppy huddled on the floor of their room, knees close to her chest, paralyzed with fear. After she had calmed herself, Poppy stood up. She still had to find her brother.
Hulk!
She called, passing from room to room. He wasn't there. The front door was open, though. She went through it into the freezing night.
Oak!
It was well after midnight, but lights were on next door at the home of her best friend, Lorimar. She walked up to the house and let herself in. Lorimar's parents lay on the ground in the kitchen in the same state as her own. White skin, blank eyes. With growing dread, Poppy entered Lorimar's room where they had been playing cards just the morning before. Oak was there, slumped over Lorimar's bed. But Poppy's friend was missing. Oak's hair was now as white as his skin, and red lines radiated up his neck and down his arms. He was cold to the touch. How had he gotten here? And where was her friend? Poppy felt too numb to weep. She left the house and mechanically went to the next one up the street, where she found a similar scene, everyone dead. She went to the next, and the next. 5 houses down, she found Lorimar's body, and another missing child, an older girl named Lily.
Lily's body turned up at Dijon's house. Dijon was absent. By morning, when Poppy had reached the very last house, she knew she was in a ghost town. Only she felt like the ghost, and she had a theory. She no longer felt anything when she found more bodies, identical to the others. She only felt curiosity and fear when she didn't find Dijon's body. He was out there somewhere, perhaps still in town looking for more victims as she is. What if Poppy was the last person alive? She had to leave. She hurried back to her house to pack her things, to say goodbye to her dead family, and to her home, to say she was sorry for bringing this nightmare upon all of them, for bringing it back from the Force, because she was certain it was all her fault. She had goaded her brother into trespassing into the woods, and now she knew he had died there. The thing she had led home with her had been wearing Oak's shape, hiding in his body or controlling it, and waiting to kill the next people it had come in his path. Poppy had heard of Grimm that could possess objects like geists, but possessing humans? Children? Anything was possible when the darkest of evil was concerned. Evil doesn't just come from Grimm, Oz. Qrow, it is just a story. It's a tough world out there, Oz. We need to tell them what they need to know. I'm teaching them exactly what they need to know, Qrow. Okay, almost done with this. Poppy avoided looking at her parents' room as she returned to her own. She flung open her closet, but her suitcase wasn't there, and suddenly she was overcome with a sense of dread. She remembered her own time in the Force, when she was peering out at her brother from the trees. Had she herself come close to being possessed? She had felt a malevolent presence in the Force after all. She had seen shadows moving in. However, Oak had taken her place. But she had escaped.
Why? Why not me?
She wondered. Why had the Grimm possessed Oak, left her alone, killed her parents, and moved on to Lorimar? Poppy remembered when she had left her suitcase. It was under the bed. She knelt down and grabbed for it, groping around until her hands closed around something cold. She lurched back.
No!
Forget the suitcase. Forget her things. She had to go. Now. Instead, Poppy slowly lifted the covers that dangled to the floor. She leaned down and peered under. There was a body. She swallowed and reached and dragged it out. She already knew who it was, who it had to be. And she knew what that had to mean. She left Dijon's body there on the floor and went to the bathroom. She looked in the mirror and saw her own face. Only, it wasn't her face anymore. Ooh! Qrow, I swear to God. Oh, come on, Oz. You had to admit that was pretty funny. You had to. I'm almost done with this. I'm almost done. Her long hair was as white as the snow on the mountaintop. Her face as stark as a blank page. Dark veins crept along her large black eyes, matching the veins twining her pale arms. She was no longer Poppy. She was dead. She was now a demon. Perhaps in gratitude, or maybe to torment her with a full knowledge of what she had started the moment she defied her parents and sent her brother into the woods. The Grimm had saved Poppy for last. Okay, I have to admit, that last part kinda got to me. And this is gonna go straight through me. Oh, you finished already? Yep. Happy Halloween. Don't you mean nondescript fall holiday? Nope. I prefer the original name. Happy Halloween, everyone.